What's up, vinyl community? Long time watcher here. First time posting a video, but I thought I'd jump on the vinyl tag 2024 bandwagon. So here we go. My favorite purchase of 2023 had to be this guy. I ended up getting all four Deathclock albums when Revolver Magazine put out their pre-orders for it. I kind of jumped on it. They only made 1,000 copies of each, though I think the fourth one, since it was a new album, I think they made a few more copies. But yeah, very excited to have these. Love Deathclock, love Metalocalypse. Really the thing that kind of got me kind of back into metal. I was kind of back into it back in junior high. Then kind of fell out, and then kind of got back into metal by watching Metalocalypse and going back and playing Guitar Hero. So very happy to have these. Next up, last purchases of 2023. I think on the 30th, I stopped by the record store and picked up a few things. Ended up getting Bob Marley's Soul Rebels. Nice one. Like to chip away at the pre-Island Bob Marley stuff. Upgraded my copy of Combat Rock to get the version, the People's Hall version, which adds a whole bunch of extra tracks. It adds like an extra EP and then like an extra LP and a half of an LP. Very happy to have this. Some great songs on the like bonus tracks. This is Radio Clash is one of my favorite Clash songs, and it was only released as a single. So very happy to have it on here. Really goes to show how great of a double or even triple album Combat Rock could have been. But of course the record company didn't want that after Sandinista. And then I also purchased in the same time, I also got the Violent Femmes self-titled album. One of my absolute favorite records. Good Feeling is just one of my favorite songs, as well as, of course, Blisters in the Sun. It's an album that's very ahead of its time, and very happy to have it in the collection. This is a fun one. Artist who released 2 albums in a year. I decided to go with Frank Zappa, who in March of 1979 released Chic Your Booty, my favorite album by him, featuring Adrian Belew. And then later on, in the fall of that year, he released Joe's Garage, another one of my favorite albums of his. Love Why Does It Hurt When I Pee, the ever so classy Frank Zappa. Alright, so a decade, if I could only listen to music from one decade, what would I pick? My brain wants to say 70s, but I feel like a lot of people are going to say 70s, and honestly, my heart's with the 90s. So, going with the 90s so we can have stuff like Nirvana, one of my favorite albums of all time right here. Just got a great reissue with a 10-inch. Includes all the B-sides. Very happy with that guy. Siamese Dream and Melancholy, fantastic albums. President of the United States of America, great record. And of course, on the more metal side of things, we have Megadeth, Rust in Peace, and of course, Pantera. This is a great comp of all the great Pantera tracks. Just saw them earlier this year. Amazing show. Green Day's Dookie. Another great album from the 90s. Saw them this year too. Another amazing show. And it's a guilty pleasure of mine, but the 90s ska stuff. I love Sublime. And even more embarrassingly, the more third wave ska stuff like Mustard Plug, Evildoers Beware. I will die on this hill defending ska. Next up, a band from Manchester. I had to look this one up because I wasn't so up on my British geography. But apparently, Bolton I believe is where they're from, is in the greater Manchester area, so I'm going with Buzzcocks. Singles going steady. Love this comp, as do a lot of people. But I specifically love the thing that's just a collection of a bunch of singles, and the A side is all the A sides, and the B side is all the B sides. I love that they made the conscious effort to do that. Fantastic record all the way through. Artist I listened to the most this year. Now this is an artist that I've always heard of, but always is kind of like I kind of like missed in their big time period. So they released a new album this year, fell in love with it, and that's Paramore. This album is fantastic, my favorite album of the year. So good that I ended up buying pretty much all their albums. Got After Laughter, Self-Titled. Why am I forgetting the title of this one? Brand New Eyes, great one. Riot, of course. I don't quite yet have their first one, but working on it. Saw them live this year as well, and they were just amazing, phenomenal show. Moving on. Four People for a Dinner Party. This is gonna be a fun one. So I kind of went with like, I don't know if this is really a dinner party crowd. It seems more of a evening at Denny's. But yeah, we got MCA from the Beastie Boys. Rest in peace. Would love to talk to him. Interesting guy. Got involved with like the Tibetan freedom movement and kind of went on this spiritual awakening with Buddhism and stuff. And was also kind of a bit of a advocate for various things and just a well outspoken guy. And his music is very creative, insanely interesting throughout the Beastie Boys career, so would love to talk to MCA and the rest of the Beastie Boys, but I'm not going to put them all in the same thing. Next pick, Jello Biafra. Be insane to hang out with Jello. Dude has some insane stories. Again, very well outspoken guy, very political, very punky. And in that same vein, got Billy Joe Armstrong from Green Day. Love to hang out with the guy. Seems like such a fun guy. Just a nice guy. But, you know, he also has, I'm sure, some crazy stories and is a very political guy. I think we'd have some great discussions, especially with Jello at the table. And then, just to make this dinner party, Denny's party, even more insane, Shel Silverstein. Dude is has some crazy poems. Seems like a wacky dude. I'm sure it would be a fun time hanging out with him. And if you haven't heard like some of his records, like this guy, this is not the children's book, Shel Silverstein. This is some crazy stuff. Very adult oriented. So check that out if you're interested. Next up, passed away in 2023. I'm going to give my shout out to Teresa Taylor, one of the original two drummers of the Butthole Surfers. She ended up leaving, like, kind of after their 80s period, but on those original albums, she really kind of, her being a second drummer, really added to the craziness of the first few Butthole Surfers albums. So yeah, she's very much featured on this guy, the first one, Psychic Powerless, Another Man's Sack, another very always classy band at the Butthole Surfers. Shouting out Teresa Taylor. Alright, the next question was, if you could only listen to music from any country, what country would it be? And I've seen several of these Vinyl Tag videos now, and everyone's saying United States or United Kingdom. So I'm going to play it a little differently. I'm going to exclude those two countries, and I'm going with Australia. Excluding the United States and UK. Australia, I'm going next. And of course, we got bands like AC/DC. Love the Bon Scott era, working on fulfilling the rest of the albums I need, but I do love this record. As well as the rest of the Bon Scott records. And honestly, I just listened to Back in Black the other day, and Brian Johnson's vocals on that actually blew me away. So, AC/DC. And then they have this really cool pub punk scene going on right now, currently in Australia, with bands like Amyl and the Sniffers. This is a great punk record if you haven't heard it. Australia's pub punk scene really reminds me of like the UK's punk scene in like the late 70s with like the Sex Pistols and stuff. Similarly, the same kind of scene, we have the Chats. This is a great record. I could barely afford my rent, and the price of smokes is going up. That song's great. And of course, they have this really cool psychedelic scene going on in this kind of like neo-psychedelic scene going on in Australia right now as well, with bands like Tame Impala. Love this record, personally, a favorite of mine. As well as bands like King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, which I don't have any to show, but they're another band kind of in that scene that's really kind of neat. Album I bought in high school. Now, this album I didn't specifically buy in high school. I didn't buy any records in high school. I was definitely buying CDs. But a band I loved in high school and had like a bunch of their CDs from this period was Bowling for Soup. A lot of their CDs from this period, they're kind of one of those bands that's in this position where they don't actually own the masters of their music, so they can't really re-release the actual albums on vinyl. So they've re-recorded a bunch of their classic songs from that time period and put them out on vinyl in this collection. This is kind of hard to find. I think it's like only on their website or something. I don't know. I haven't seen many people post it or talk about it, but was very happy to pick this up this year. Was one of my favorite bands in high school. Like I said, I used to own like all their CDs, and now I have this cool collection on vinyl. So, shouting out Bowling for Soup. Oh, I just realized I missed one on the list, so I'm gonna go back up to it here. The Show 7 inches. Now I don't buy many 7 inches, so I'm kind of cheating on this one as well. But we got my favorite one here, Ghost's 7 Inches of Satanic Panic. This is a great record, kind of like that a band pretending to be a band from the 60s doing like a dark psychedelic kind of thing. This is really fun. I love both tracks on here, Kiss the Go-Goat and Mariana Cross. Great songs from Ghost. Some of my favorite Ghost songs, honestly. This is a fun one. We got Cheech and Chong's Santa Claus and His Old Lady. No Christmas season's complete without playing this guy. Next up, again, Bowling for Soup. We got the Fishin' for Woo's bonus track 7-inch, which I just bought randomly because while I was buying that other Bowling for Soup off their website because it was like $5. And then I ended up buying Fishin' for Woo's, the full album, as well. Alright, here's one that kind of was a big deal when it was released this year. The Beatles' Now and Then. Kind of an interesting thing, kind of taking an unused Lennon demo and kind of finishing it up. It was actually intended for release for the Anthology 3, but then the technology really wasn't there, so they kind of ended up shelving it and redoing it, and I think it actually turned out pretty well. It's not very a necessary purchase, but I did buy it because I am a Beatles completionist, and I actually already have the anthologies on vinyl, so figured I'd get this one that was supposed to be part of the anthologies, and I don't love the cover art. I think the back cover art is actually a lot better. I don't know why they didn't use this as just like the main cover, because this would be a better back cover, because this is like nothing, and this is actually something. This looks cool. This reminds me of like those old I Spy books I liked as a kid, so I wish they used this back cover instead of as like the main cover, but whatever, that's my gripe. Now, like I said, I am cheating because I don't have many 7 inches. So, I'm also showing off in this category. My 12-inch singles. I got Falco's Rock Me Amadeus extended like dance mix or whatever. This club mix. It's kind of weird. It's interesting. It kind of cuts out a lot of the verses and kind of just like the Rock Me Amadeus part over and over again. But whatever. It was a fun purchase, and I'm glad I got it. Super cheap. Similarly, again, I don't really buy singles. I actually bought this thinking it was a full album, but it was just a single. But it's cool. It's a Fela Kuti maxi single. Um, this is an 80s Fela Kuti. This is like Egypt 80s stuff, which is cool. I guess it was actually released as a free Fela benefit. I guess he was imprisoned at this time. But this is kind of cool to have like a 12-inch maxi single of Fela. I just kind of wish it was longer and not edited. But you know, that's me. But cool purchase nonetheless. Similarly, again, don't have many 7 inches. So, let's see if I can find it in here. It's in here somewhere. This is one of my favorite purchases from last year, 2022. Or I guess 2 years now. But this was a Record Store Day release. Dead Milkman's Metaphysical Graffiti. This is a great album. And it came with a 7-inch, which is really just collecting more songs that didn't fit onto the main record. But this is like one of the funniest things ever. Like, if you just go and stream like the few songs, and these songs are kind of like random like interlude songs on the album. They're kind of like a recurring theme that kind of shows up every few songs. But they kind of collected here as a 7-inch, and God, this is so funny. So if you want to go on Spotify or something, check out the songs Billy Bo Higgis, Full Blown Professor, Sarah Jane, and Cousin Earl from Metaphysical Graffiti, because they are so funny. So funny. So that's one of my favorite 7 inches. Came as part of the record. There we go. And then the last one, that's just so good. This is one of my favorite vinyl purchases of the year, too. Green Day's Kerplunk. And it's one of my favorite vinyl purchases of the year because I got it for a good price, and it actually came with the Sweet Children 7-inch, which I wanted to get a copy of Kerplunk with this 7-inch, and I'm glad that I did. This has their cover of My Generation, which is kind of an unhinged, fun version of it. As well as just like 3 other random early Green Day tracks that are just like well collected here. So very happy to have that in the collection as well. Next up was show a funk, soul, R&B, kind of disco, whatever kind of record. So I have a few that I was gonna pick. I don't know, a lot of people have done Funkadelic already. I could have chosen a few of those. I could have done Zap. But I chose to go with Shaft. He's a bad mother, shut your mouth. Yeah, Shaft, from Isaac Hayes. This is a fun record, super funky, super soul, super guitars going nuts. It's a really fun record all the way through. I just watched the movie recently. Pretty insane film. Shaft is just a great character because he's just like this guy who just like always has something cool to say. His response to everything is cool. So that's just what Shaft is all about. Next up, shouting out some vinyl community channels. Want to shout out Vinyl Richie. Always has great punk stuff to show, great stories. A lot of people are probably familiar with them, but want to shout them out anyway. Similarly, shouting out Cosmic Brian. Always has great obscure psychedelic records to show that are just really fun. Sometimes just like I like seeing some of those kind of like obscure psychedelic records because it's just ones to keep an eye out for, you know. And then I'd also like to shout out Omaha Introvert. I haven't heard anybody shout her out, but she's has some great vinyl community videos. She shows off some great she shows off a lot of punk, UK and US punk, and like post-punk stuff, shoegazy stuff. She still got a lot of cool stuff, and that's why I want to shout her out. Similarly, my favorite video that I watched this year in the vinyl community was Abby's Vinyl Monday video that she did. Her epic history of the MC5 that she did. It's almost like a 3-hour video where she just goes through the entire insane history of the MC5. And it's just great. She even goes off on a tangent where she ranks Rob Tyner's hair throughout the years. It's a great video. So go check that out. Alright, this is a fun one. A record that everybody has and a record that nobody has. So, alright. Everybody has the Dark Side of the Moon. Great record. Everybody should have Dark Side of the Moon. I have this one, the 50th anniversary they released this year, but then I also have 2 cover versions. I have the Easy Dub All-Stars Reggae version, and I have the Flaming Lips version, which is insane. But yeah, everybody has Dark Side of the Moon one way or another. Nobody has this record, though. My brother went to Japan this year, and he brought me back this, like, weird, obscure Japanese punk record. I actually haven't listened to it yet, because he gave it to me for Christmas. But it's, June Sky Walkers. Nobody has this record. I was looking it up. Nobody has this. It wasn't on Discogs. I had to add it myself. So, the copy that's on Discogs is my copy. Yeah, but it just seems like cool punk stuff from Japan. Here's the back cover. But yeah, from what I've done some research on this. These guys are from Tokyo, and this is their debut album from like 1988. That's been reissued recently. So yeah, June Sky Walkers. It's my Nobody Has album. Female artists that I'm going to shout out. Okay, another favorite record I bought this year, and it's not often that I showcase jazz, because I'm not a huge jazz guy, but As Coltrane, Journey and Satchiananda, one of my favorite records ever. Definitely one of my favorite jazz records. I'm not a huge jazz fan, so this is a great one. I love the harp. I love the instrumentation on this. We have some cool, like, Indian instruments. So yeah, we got the oud on here. We have the tambura. Really cool instruments, and it sounds great. It has this great droney effect. This is a great record to put on, like, in the middle of a thunderstorm or something. You got a crazy storm going on, an ominous storm in the distance, putting on Journey and Satchiananda. Great stuff. Next up, a 90s classic. I know I showed off a lot of 90s classics earlier when I picked my decade, but I'm going with this one. This is an album that my parents would play. I'm a child of the 90s, so my parents would play this in the car for me as a child, and they also enjoyed it. But yeah, this is my pick. Saturday Morning Cartoons Greatest Hits. This is a comp put out by, like, I think, like, Geffen Records or whatever. Geffen Records in, like, the 90s. So we have, like, a lot of these 90s alt guys doing cover songs from cartoons and other Saturday morning cartoon kind of things. There's some great stuff on here. We got Liz Phair doing the Banana Split song, and we got a great version of Underdog by the Butthole Surfers, and Helmet, and Reverend Horton Heat does a great version of Johnny Quest / Stop the Pigeon. That's insane. And yeah, we got Sublime doing Hong Kong Phooey, which is great. Might be the only Sublime song that actually features Lou Dog in it, doing the barking. And Wax, who is a band I'm not really familiar with outside of this, but they do an somehow even more unhinged, even more deranged version of Happy Happy Joy Joy from the Ren and Stimpy show. So that's my pick for this 90s classic there. Cover I'd like to walk into. This is a fun one, and I know a lot of people have been choosing random covers, usually like scenes they'd like to walk into of, like, in real life stuff, but this, I'm choosing Dukes of the Stratosphere 25 O'Clock, because I just want to explore that world. I want to explore the psychedelic world. I just want to fly through that, just take it all in. Similarly, look at this back cover. We got, like, giraffes and stuff. I just want to fly around throughout the world of this album cover and just explore it. So, that's my pick. Great album, by the way. I prefer XTC when they're Dukes of the Stratosphere, just doing this crazy, like, Sid Barrett era Pink Floyd kind of music. Love that. Feels like a greatest hits, but isn't a greatest hits. London Calling. I love The Clash, one of my favorite bands of all time. Every track on here is amazing, and it just feels like such a greatest hits. You got London Calling, Brand New Cadillac, Rudy Can't Fail, Spanish Bonds, Lost in the Supermarket, Clampdown, Guns of Brixton, Death and Glory, I'm Not Down, Revolution Rock, the whole Train in Vain, the whole thing is a greatest hits, but not a greatest hits. And there's still so much more Clash stuff that's great. The album feels like a greatest hits though, so that's my choice. And finally, we have an album that turns 50 in 2024. Had to go through the 1974 albums list, but you know what? Here's my copy. Here's my choice. Kimono My House by Sparks. This is an insane album. It blew my mind when I heard it. Really kind of got me wanting to explore more of the 70s glam rock kind of scene, but I bought this year. I got it for $15 because the guy cut me a real good deal on it. The cover's a little messed up, but nothing that it's split, but nothing that like a little glue stick wouldn't fix. But yeah, clean copy, $15, super nice purchase this year. But yeah, the song like "This Town Ain't Big Enough for the Both of Us." It was like a great track. His album's insane. It kind of like, when I first heard it, I was like, I don't know if I like this. It's kind of weird. And then I listened to it a second time. I'm like, this is like a great album. So yeah, this is turning 50 years old this year. Amazing album by Sparks. Most people already know that. But yeah, if you want to check this album out, it's some weird 70s stuff that really kind of holds up in like this creative, art rocky, glam thing that they're doing. So yeah, that's my album turning 50 this year choice. And that's it. That's my vinyl tag for 2024. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't know how much, how many more videos I'm going to be doing, but, every once in a while I'll probably drop in here, show off some recent pickups, and, I don't know, just randomly talk about music. So, signing off, feel free to subscribe, whatever. See ya.